Hi everybody, this is Maria Clark and welcome to my studio. Today's project is Santa's reindeer. We've got Rudolph and Santa's 8 reindeer in this really fun necklace with snowflakes and jingle bells. This is part of the hashtag Love Winter Art, part of this Creative Arts Collaboration YouTube group. I hope you enjoy this video and please be sure to check out all of the other great artists who are posting in the hashtag Love Winter Art. Let's get started. For this project, we'll need an extruder and some round cutters, a hollow bead form, various mini cutters, a texture sheet, a craft knife, a sculpting tool, and a clay blade. The colors we'll use for clay are light blue for the background, white, and then a variety of colors. Here's the light blue, and I'm using a texture sheet just to give it a little bit of interest, and I have just a sort of honeycomb type texture. And I'll use that, and I have a 1.5 inch cutter here, and that will be the largest cutter. And then the second size cutter is about, just slightly over, it's maybe 1.25 inches. We'll get one central piece cut and 4 side pieces. And then I'm just going to start making and sculpting the reindeers. I have a little teardrop cutter. This is about a 3 1/4 inch cutter, and you can see that I've just cut that out and just freeformed the neck, and this is forming the primary reindeer for Rudolph. I will use some little teeny bit of red clay to make a red nose and just press that into place. For the antlers, I'm using this little leaf cutter that I've used in several of my other videos. This came in a basic nature set, and I really like it because I can use it for lots of different things. And when I cut those out, it looks like antlers to me. So I'll just refine the edges a little bit and just get those antlers stuck down. And I'll use my 3/16 inch teardrop cutter to cut some little ears for Rudolph. Get those in place, and I'll use my sculpting tool, which is really a knitting needle. And I will go ahead and put in his ears and just give a little bit of definition to the antlers. I'm going to use the white clay to make Rudolph's eyes. And just get those placed. This is a 1/4 inch cutter, and get those placed, and I'll use a teeny tiny little bit of black clay to form some balls for the iris. You can really play around with how you place these eyes because it'll give Rudolph his expression. It can be a lot of fun. Now I'm going to take a little bit more red clay, and I'm going to form a little collar for Rudolph. So just roll out a thin snake and apply that, cut off any excess, and just sort of tamp it down. Next, I'll use some of this green clay, and I'm going to use my 3/16 teardrop cutter, and I'm going to cut out some little holly leaves. And I'll just place 3 of those leaves on his collar and use my needle tool to give them a little vein. And then I'll take a little bit of the snake, and I'll cut off 3 pieces of the red clay, which will form the berries. And then I'll use a little embossing tool to go ahead and make indents into those berries. And I'll do the same thing up on his antlers. Now I'm going to go ahead and place some stars because this is a starry night. So I've got this little star cutter. And if you don't have these particular cutters, don't fret it. You can leave a piece off or you can freehand it, and I think it would look just great. So I'm going to go ahead and place some of these stars. And when I need to, I will cut the stars so that it can be positioned at the edge. And just place those wherever it looks good to you. You can see I cut that piece there. And just place as many as you think looks good. And tamp those down. Okay, just refine any areas that you might need to, and we're going to go ahead and take this and put it on the hollow bead form. You could also use a light bulb, and we'll just place that. This is actually fits on the largest size, and I'll just get that positioned well. And then I'm going to take 2 strands of extruded clay, one red and one white, and make a little candy cane stripe around this piece. And I'm just twisting it as I go. And once I get it all on, I'll cut the edges where they overlap so I get a nice clean cut or a nice clean seam. And I'll spend some time to make sure that the candy cane stripe is really firmly up against the clay, that there's really good contact there. I'm going to back this piece so it'll be all right, but I want to make sure it's adhered. And then we'll get that in the oven for 30 minutes, and don't forget to tent it. So the piece is out of the oven, and I have some rolled out red, and this is rolled out on the number 3 of my pasta machine, and it's been textured. I'm using some Genesis medium. You could also use liquid clay. And I'll just get that on the back, and I will drop in this backing piece and just press that in. And then I'll go around the edges with my fingers and just make sure that it's well adhered and that I have really good contact. And then I'll take my needle tool and go around and make, this is going to simulate little sewing threads. And once I get that all done, I will put it back on the hollow baking form, and I will get that in the oven for another 30 minutes. Now that it's out of the oven, I'm ready to do Santa's other 8 reindeer. And I'm using the same process, but I am just scaling it down. So I'm using a smaller teardrop cutter. And I'm going to place 2 of Santa's reindeer on each one of these discs. And you can see it's just exactly the same process. I'll refine the neck just a little bit to curve it. And then just place those on. There's no particular pattern to this. And now I've got all 8 reindeer positioned on these sheets, and I'll use the same cutter that I used for Rudolph's antlers, but this time when I cut these out, because these are smaller, I'm going to go ahead and cut these so that I get 2 antlers out of each cut. And you can see that I'm just positioning these where I think they look good, and I'm just right now positioning and I'm not worrying about refining the edge yet, because I'll do that at the end. And just cut off any excess. And now it's really the same process of decorating as I did for Rudolph. The elements are basically the same. You'll just vary the number and placement a little bit. So you can see I'm finishing up the antlers. And then I'll go ahead and place the nose, the eyes, the holly, and the stars, and just like I did with Rudolph. And I'll let you go ahead and watch that for just a few minutes. Okay, I've got all these reindeer completed, and I'll use the hollow baking form again, and I'll use the size that fits your cutout. I think it's the second size here. And just go ahead and press those down, and as we did with Rudolph, put the candy stripe cane, and we'll get those in the oven for 30 minutes. Once they're out of the oven, it's the same process of using the Genesis medium or liquid clay to bond the raw and the baked clay, and again just a red textured piece, and here you have it. They're all done. They look really cute. So now it's deciding how exactly I want to lay these out, and I have a couple of things I'm going to add to this. I have these little white snowflake buttons, which I think will be really, really cute, and then I also have these little red jingle bells. Now you can stop at any place. If this is too much for you to add this much embellishment, don't worry about it. The tools we'll need are a drill and jump rings, a clasp, and then whatever other embellishments you want if you want to use these snowflake buttons or the jingle bells, and some pliers. Now I will go ahead and add the holes. So just get a little bit of, you'll have the holes up towards the top part of this. And you'll want holes in each one of the 5 pieces, and then we'll get those laid out and I'll start to put it together. So the basic component is this is a 10mm jump ring, and I'll just get that inserted first. Get those in both pieces. And then the middle piece is a 5 or 6mm jump ring, and I'm going to use a 10mm to put the jingle bell on because I want it to dangle just a little bit down beneath the snowflake. So I've got this, I think it's a 5mm jump ring. Oops, add the jingle bell, and then add the 2 pieces. And then I will get that snowflake, and that snowflake's going on the same 5mm centerpiece with the jingle bell. It's a little hard to get on there, but once you do, you can just go ahead and close that up. and I think that looks really cute. So I've got all those pieces together, and it measured roughly 9 inches. So I'm using 4.5-inch lengths of chain on each end, and I'll attach the chain to the last component of Snowflake and Jingle Bell, and then I will add a jump ring to the end of the chain, and I'm using a toggle clasp. I needed to get a few more jump rings. So here I'm just going to add the toggle, the first part of the toggle, and close that up. And I'll add the other section of chain. And the last part of the toggle clasp. And it goes together really nicely. I hope you enjoyed this project. I think it turned out really cute, and I'm really looking forward to wearing it for the holiday season. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, giving me a thumbs up, or leaving me a comment. I love hearing from you. And as always, I appreciate you, and thanks for joining me in my studio. Take care.